A woman was found dead at her home, and the scene of the murder was staged to look like a suicide. Siobhan Kearney was strangled to death in the bedroom of her family home in Goatstown, County Dublin. Following their horrific discovery, they immediately phoned Siobhan's husband, Brian, who then rushed home. Brian was later charged with Siobhan's murder, a charge which he denied.
The story does not begin with blood. It begins with trust. Her name was Siobhan Kearney. She was in her 30s, a wife, a mother, a woman who believed marriage meant safety, meant standing together when the world pressed in. She believed in routines, morning coffee, school runs, quiet dinners where nothing dramatic happened. She believed that love didn't have to be loud to be real. From the outside, her life looked stable, respectable. Married to Brian Kearney, a man who appeared attentive, responsible, even gentle. Friends described him as calm, practical, the kind of man you trusted around your children. But inside the marriage, Siobhan carried a quiet weight. There were financial worries that never fully lifted, conversations that ended before they began, a tension she couldn't quite name, only feel. Brian talked often about money, about pressure, about how hard it was to hold everything together. She told herself this was normal, that marriage meant endurance. She softened herself to keep peace. She ignored the moments when his affection felt transactional, when love came with conditions, when concern felt like control. She did what so many women do. She adapted. At night, when the house finally slept, Siobhan lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering why she felt lonely next to her husband, wondering why her instincts whispered something was wrong, yet nothing looked wrong enough to leave. No bruises, no screaming matches, just silence. And silence, she would learn, can be the most dangerous thing of all. Stories like this are not rare. They survive because they are remembered. If you believe stories like Siobhan's deserve to be told, shared so others may recognize the signs, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Silence protects the wrong people. Truth never should. Siobhan did not know her life was already being measured, not in years, but in policies. She did not know that trust was being converted into numbers. She believed her husband loved her, and that belief would cost her everything. Brian Kearney was not cruel in obvious ways. He was precise. He spoke carefully, planned carefully, and increasingly, he calculated. Financial stress wrapped itself around the marriage like a tightening wire. Insurance conversations began casually, almost responsibly. Just in case, Brian said. For the family. Siobhan agreed. Of course she did. She trusted him. But behind closed doors, Brian's fixation grew. Debts, pressure, a desire for relief that no budget could provide. He began withdrawing emotionally, long silences, short patience. His warmth flickered on and off, unpredictable as weather. Siobhan noticed but minimized it. She told herself he was tired, that love ebbed and flowed, that loyalty meant staying even when things felt wrong. Sometimes she confided in no one, not her family, not her friends. She didn't want to embarrass him, didn't want to admit doubt. She didn't know doubt was her last defense. Brian, meanwhile, was constructing another reality, one where his wife existed not as a partner, but as a solution, a payout, a reset, an exit. And like many predators, he hid behind normalcy. He cooked meals, he smiled in public, he reassured. The most dangerous betrayals are never loud. They are patient. The night Siobhan died did not feel extraordinary at first. There was no warning siren, no sudden argument that foreshadowed violence, just routine. And then, irreversibility. What happened that night would later be reconstructed through evidence, timelines, and confessions, but none of it could fully capture the terror of realizing the person beside you is not who you believed. This was not a crime of passion. It was a crime of intent. Brian Kearney murdered his wife for financial gain, not in rage, not in desperation, but with cold purpose. Trust shattered first, then life. The betrayal was total. Siobhan never had a chance to fight back, not against someone she loved, not against someone she believed would protect her. Her death was staged, calculated, planned to look like something else. But truth has a way of leaking through lies, always. At first, grief dominated everything. Family members moved through shock, friends clung to disbelief. Brian played the role expected of him, grieving husband, devastated father. But investigators noticed cracks, details that didn't align, stories that shifted, financial motives that refused to stay hidden, insurance policies, timelines, behavior that felt rehearsed rather than broken. The more they looked, the clearer it became. This was not an accident. This was murder. The realization struck Siobhan's loved ones like a second death. Grief twisted into horror, into rage. The man they trusted, the man she trusted, was responsible. Truth did not arrive gently. It tore everything apart. Brian's arrest fractured families. Some refused to believe it. Others demanded answers. The community split between denial and reckoning. Courtrooms became battlegrounds of silence and sobs. Evidence spoke where words failed. The betrayal was no longer private. It was public, undeniable. For Siobhan's family, standing for truth meant enduring whispers, stares, and the unbearable reality that love had been weaponized. Justice demanded pain before peace. The trial stripped away illusions. Brian Kearney was convicted, sentenced to life. No celebration followed, only gravity. Justice does not restore the dead, it only names the truth. In that courtroom, Siobhan's life was finally honored, not as a policy, not as a footnote, but as a human being whose trust had been betrayed. The sentence closed one chapter, but healing would take longer. Siobhan Kearney did not live to tell her story, but truth carried her voice forward. Her legacy became a warning and a shield for others, a reminder that intuition matters, that silence can be dangerous, that love should never require erasing yourself. Justice stood firm. And though her life was stolen, her truth was not. In the end, what survives betrayal is not bitterness, but clarity. Not revenge, but accountability. And not silence, but remembrance.